Well, who's on first?
Yeah.
Go ahead and talk. Who? The guy on first.
Who?
The guy playing first base.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who is on first?
What are you asking me for? I'm asking you.
We're really excited and to get into this episode. How you guys doing?
Doing great, man. The Cubs just had a big comeback win. They were down like 6-0 and ended up winning it. So, feeling good right now.
Finally,
Yeah, needed it.
right?
Yeah, I was gonna say they need to turn it around. No, I mean some odd baseball out there, some good baseball, some really strange baseball, especially if you're a Yankees fan. But hey, we can get into that later too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But baseball's here, so it's good.
Absolutely. All right, guys, before we get started, just the kind of normal, hit us up on social media, give us a follow and subscribe and everything. Thank you guys for the comments, for trying to get better at replying and everything. Really appreciate that. But give us a like, follow on our socials at WOF BB Podcast. We very much appreciate it. So first topic today, we're going to talk about all the extensions for all these young kiddos. I was going to say whippersnappers, but that's terrible to say.
You're gonna make yourself old already.
Yeah, I know. There has been quite a number of extensions handed out, and I thought it'd be a fun topic because the Connor Griffin extension for the Pirates just finalized. I believe it was Thursday.
Yeah.
Came through. It was rumored and like speculated and like, hey, this is happening, but not finalized until that day. But I thought it'd be a fun conversation to kind of talk about because the Cubs did this quite a bit. Probably like at the beginning of the season or maybe at the end of spring training.
Yeah.
And quite a few teams have done it. So I'm going to throw a few out there that are big notable names. And then I figured we can just kind of talk about it, and I'll throw a couple questions to you guys. So the most recent one is obviously Connor Griffin from the Pittsburgh Pirates. He was just given 9 years at $140 million, and he is also no, he's not the youngest on the list. There's one kid that's younger, but he is 19 years old. So getting a $140 million contract at 19 years old is crazy just to think about it, where, I exist in my life right now. And then there's two notable ones, I think, right after this that happened at the beginning of the year. Colt Emerson from Seattle Mariners, he got an 8-year, $95 million contract. And then Cooper Pratt for the Milwaukee Brewers got an 8-year, $50 million contract. The notable things for those guys is they have yet to even make it to the major leagues. So they have been given contracts. I think both of them are still in AA, actually. Or maybe one is high A and one is AA. So obviously teams are seeing, metrics, seeing things. And then I'm going to throw a couple of big name ones. Obviously, we have Vladdy's contract that happened at the beginning of last season. He got a 14-year, $500 million contract. But some other notable small ones, Samuel Basallo for the Orioles got an 8-year, $67 million contract. And he had 2 months of service. Roman Anthony got an 8-year, $130 million contract for the Red Sox. He had less than 2 months of service time. And then I'll throw two more. Garrett Crochet 2 years ago got a 6-year, $170 million contract for the Red Sox. And then I think the other big one is Jackson Chourio 3 years ago, I think now, got an 8-year, $82 million contract. He also had yet to make it to the majors when he did get that. So with all those, numbers and those things, I want to throw it at you guys. What are your kind of overall basic thoughts about that idea of signing these players? The secondary question to it, too, that we can discuss, do you think it has anything to do with the looming negotiations at the end of the year after the season is over? So first question, second question. Who wants to go first?
Michael, go for it. Yeah, I see you're just steaming with thoughts.
The first piece, I think it's really smart in a way with some of these guys. Now, obviously, some of these teams are taking a huge risk with these guys that you've not even seen touch an MLB game yet. But some of these talents are, you kind of know what you're getting. a few games away, or like Connor Griffin could have been playing at the beginning of the year. We all knew that, just from seeing him in spring training. And so, like the Pirates, that's a big step for them to even make a signing like that. But I think it's smart because we're gonna probably reference, you've got some really good contracts out there, like guys like Ronald Acuna or Ozzie Albies, and these guys were extremely young when they signed these contracts.
The entire Atlanta Braves organization.
Pretty much. And so like these are look like some of the best contracts in all of baseball, because during Acuna's time he's been probably a top 5, top 6 player in the league almost every year outside of the 2 years he was hurt. And then with Ozzie Albies, he's probably the most underpaid all-star in the game, as a guy who's made like 3 or 4 all-star games, and he's on like an 8-year, like $35 million contract or something crazy. So, I think it's really smart from that aspect, but it is definitely still a risk too. But what you're looking to do is mitigate one of those ginormous contracts like Toronto had to put out there for Vladdy, where they decided not to make that decision, even though we kind of knew what Vladdy was coming into things, and so they end up over the $300 million threshold. But if you truthfully ask me right now, looking at what Roman Anthony was versus Vladdy, their first 60 games or whatever, and you're going to get Roman Anthony for $120 million or $130 million versus Vladdy, you'd be kind of silly not to take the Roman Anthony at $120 million or whatever versus Vladdy. As much as I love Vladdy's, because it just leaves you with a lot more room to make other decisions down the road. You don't have to worry about going through arbitration, which honestly I've said for years is like it's the easiest way to make the hometown guys mad at you, and they're definitely never signing a hometown discount deal, because you come and say,
right,
you're not worth this, we think you're worth this or whatever, and then everybody gets all up in their feels, and then that's where you see a guy that you're like, I thought he was going to be a lifer, but he's definitely gone now. That's where that stuff happens, is in arbitration a lot of the time. So I think it's smart. And to answer your question too, I think 100% a couple of these guys, especially the decisions you're seeing, are being impacted by what is looming in 27 with the potential lockout and everything coming along, at least the talk and negotiations coming up. I think definitely this is playing a factor, especially teams like Seattle, Pittsburgh, Milwaukee. These are 3 smaller market teams that you're seeing be very aggressive on trying to make sure they're keeping their young talent in-house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with a lot of what Michael said, in the sense of, like, are the contracts really good? Sure. I mean, anytime a team can lock up a player and, as you said, avoid, the dreaded arbitration years, those fun things, I think it's a benefit. Name you didn't mention, but I think really kind of started all this as far as for the young guys, was Jackson Merrill in San Diego when they did it for him. And I think that really got teams kind of processing this. I mean, but the reality is we're seeing younger and younger players. Now, there's not going to be the majority of them, but the younger athletic guys are really standing out, and they're actually faring well in the game of baseball. And so teams are getting to this point where actually in the long run, it's better for them to give them these, $100+ million contract for 7 years, because it's actually an added benefit to the player just as much as it is the teams. Because it looks like a big amount of money, but the revenue the teams are going to get just from that player. I mean, you think of someone like Griffin or even Roman Anthony. I mean, he kind of hasn't really, he hasn't been bad, but he hasn't like lit things on fire to start this year. But what he was able to do in the WBC, I mean, Boston's getting that money back, no problem, because every one of their fans has already gone out there, made sure they're buying his jersey, those type of things. Yep. And so with marketing and all that stuff that comes with it for these players, it's really, in my opinion, not a no-brainer. I mean, obviously the organization has to have the right mindset. But when you find a kid, like even Paul Skeens coming out talking about Connor Griffith, Griffin and saying simply, you know, this is the face of the Pirates for years to come. I mean, that's a big deal when you're talking about a guy who currently is the face and probably, if the Pirates wanted to, could make him the face for a really long time as well.
Yep.
And I think a little bit of that is telling in some aspects, not because I think necessarily Paul Skeens is going anywhere. Don't read too much into that. I mean, I think ultimately he will choose free agency above Pittsburgh, but for now he's not going anywhere. But it is, you know, alluding, because Paul Skeens, we all know, is not settling for $180 million. Like, he's going to be near the Vladdy contract. That's what that's going to be. And so it does give teams some stability moving forward. It gives them an opportunity to pump some excitement into their fan base, because they're saying, hey, we're locking these guys in. Now, you have to be pretty with it, because if all the names that you mentioned, with the exception of the two, and even those two, like the Seattle and all that, like, they're pretty well known, like, almost, you never say 100% bombshell, like bomb proof, if you will, prospects, because anybody can fall off at any point. But these guys are legitimate guys. They're proving themselves. I mean, again, we keep coming back to Connor Griffin. The fact that the kid's 19 years old and he's starting shortstop, and I mean, he's not bad. Like, it's not like, you know, it's just a guy filling a spot out there. I mean, he's doing work in the MLB. It shows it. And my hope is, honestly, more teams get to this place.
Yeah.
The problem is not many teams are willing to do what Atlanta did, where it was one contract right after the other. I think you're going to see it sparingly. I think maybe one or two players. You know, ideally for most teams, it's going to be a position player and a pitcher. They may extend like this, and then they'll take the risk on some other players of letting them walk, things like that. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think it's great. The second question on that is, it, you know, you never say never. I mean, yes, the pending potential lockout has a lot to do with it. You know, on a lot of levels, because I think the price tag for most players is going to go up even a little bit more after the lockout. That's going to be part of the negotiations. I think some of it is going to be the secondary players are going to need to get paid a little bit more. So this is an avenue to get out in front of that. These guys are going to be locked into contracts. And like I said, it's a benefit both to the team and the player, because a lot of these contracts don't push these players past their prime. So they're actually still going to be able to get another big contract should they produce.
Yep.
And if they don't, by that point, teams will be ready to move on anyway. And it's not going to be a huge like tag on their salaries or on their franchises when you're only talking about, you know, $140 million, $130 million, or even like Baltimore. I think it's like $80 million is what that's not a huge hit for any team.
Yeah.
Because most of these kids are getting, you know, anywhere from $200,000 to a few $1,000,000 just in draft signings. You know, so it's not like this money is completely foreign. Now, when you get into $100 millions for us and the average listener out there, it's life-changing money, right?
Yeah.
Tim, you said you don't know what you're going with, but like, I don't know why you didn't sign that kind of deal with your contract with us. That's what they gave me. So,
new agent.
I missed that conversation for sure.
No, I mean, overall it's good. And yes, teams are trying to avoid what is going to be, you know, potential lockout, even if baseball isn't locked out, which that's what I'm hoping for. Salaries are going to change. The price tag, especially for your elite young players, is just going to get higher. I mean, it's inflation across the board, not just in professional sports, but all over the country. And it's just going to keep happening. It's an entertainment industry at its core. And so when they're exciting and young, I mean, money's going to be thrown at them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys make a lot of good points. I'm actually kind of in the middle. I feel like as an organization, you have to really know your model and know that, you know, these models are going to work out. I remember seeing something, I forgot to write this down to confirm it, but I know extensions like these for these young players in the history of baseball has a higher percentage of working out than not.
Mhm.
There are extensions that have flamed out. Even in today's time, you can think about, and I think it's kind of too early, especially for the amount of money. But Christian Campbell in Boston,
Yeah.
was given an extension before he start.
Right.
He had a couple games, and it has yet to pan out at all because he's in AAA still.
Yeah.
But that money in comparison, it was an 8-year, 60, so that's pretty small.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about this as as a Cardinals fan, but also just a baseball person. There's a lot of talk to extend JJ. I'm not sure that I'm there because, again, going back to every organization needs to understand their model. Atlanta has proven that the model worked. They've won a World Series with the core that they have.
Yep.
They've had some great seasons in the midst of it, but they've only really extended position players. They haven't really extended pitching. And Alex Anthopoulos, his model worked out in that sense. Have they won since then? No, but they've had some killer seasons, and they just, they got bounced early for 1, 2, 3 different types of reasons. But in the Cardinals instance, the model is too new. The organization's been changed over too recently, in my opinion, to give JJ an 8, 9, 10, whatever year $1 million deal to know that hey, this model says that this player is going to do this and we believe it.
Yeah.
I would like to see that for this particular team go out, but also at the same time you got to think about the way that the system for players works now, and I'm not to your point, Michael, I'm not an arbitration fan. I would the system I'd be fine with, as long as the two players are close to agree, we put that middle number and it's fine. Going to arbitration, I think, is really bad for baseball.
Yep.
But if you think about, for JJ, he's going to get $3 million in 3 years, and then the stacking arbitration, that's going to be $50 million, $40 million for his 6 years of control.
Yeah.
And to the point of we don't know if their model works. Michael, what do you think about PCA's contract that was just given to him? Even though you've had 2 years of his season, he had a half a season breakout.
Yep.
Second half a season slump like crazy, and he's still not off to a great start. Do you feel like that contract is worth it right now? Or even can you see it being worth it in the future?
Could I see it being worth in the future? Yes. Right now, obviously, that's fair to ask the questions, but that's where you have to weigh things too. And I think the Cubs are, like you kind of mentioned, the Cubs are in a different position than the Cardinals are. The Cubs had other good young talent that's ready to go right now, Nico Horners and some others of the world that are already playing at a higher level also. And so extending PCA through that time period, the Cubs really should be in, that quote-unquote World Series window over this next 5 or 6 years. And by locking that up, they can go focus on other stuff like starting pitching and things like that. Whereas, the Cardinals, you guys are going through a complete retool right now. And you have some other good young talent, but, it's unproven, whether this is going to work like you said. Now, I will say this. From what I've seen from Weatherholt, kid's very talented, and he's probably going to be a stud for years to come, but I do understand where you're coming from. If we're talking the Cardinals 20 years ago and you're bringing a guy like Weatherholt up, one, they probably would just have another Weatherholt somewhere in the holster, but, where you've got just proven winning versus what you guys have had here, of recent, I think Weatherholt would have been like, yeah, for sure, we'd, everyone else is doing this, we should do this with JJ because he's going to be the future face of the team. But yeah, right now it doesn't make sense. For the Cubs, I think it does make sense. Also, to be honest with you, it was completely shocking because, the Cubs are a major market, but their ownership does not like to act as such. So, there's a lot of times where, the Cubs are more of a mid team as far as spending goes. And, that can be frustrating, but I'd rather see him take a swing on a guy like PCA where it's there's definite potential superstar in there, and it was 6 years. So it's not like we signed him to, a Tatis $14 or $15 million or 15-year deal where it's you've put all your eggs in this basket. in 3 or 4 years, if this isn't panning out as much as you'd hate to do it, you could still, work your way off of that contract that they signed with him, because it was nothing absurd. There was not a 3 in front of that number, like I said, came with the Tatises of the world, that
Yeah.
slightly
Yeah.
above 100, and
Yeah.
but I mean, there's definite potential there that it doesn't work out, and obviously, as a Cubs fan, I hope that it does.
Right. Obviously.
But I do think it's smart, especially from the Cubs aspect. They don't like to go spend these huge contracts or pay out these huge contracts. So I think it does make sense to lock up a young core now to maybe be able to go pan and get some other starting pitcher on a short-term deal for a higher, average that he's making, but maybe for a 5-year deal rather than a
Mhm.
10 or 15 like we've seen some of these big time pitchers. If you could get, not saying this would happen, but if you could get a Scuball or somebody like that to sign a 5-year deal or something rather than a 10, but you're offering him 10 million above what the
Yeah.
average annual is. It opens the door for that, in my opinion. But you really, like you said, you got to watch close. You got to trust what you're building there is going to work out. Because, like I said, everybody, if they could have been Atlanta, would have done what Atlanta did. But then
Yeah.
you also saw the opposite side of the spectrum where Houston knew what they had, but they continued to just play through it. And they're like, we're going to lose a couple of these guys, but it'll be okay because we're going to be able to extend this guy, later in his contract and stuff. So we didn't see the Altuves
Yeah.
and all those guys getting locked up. And, ultimately they end up losing Springer at a certain point, but they still had other young talent that was still there built up. And so then, we ended up with, like I said, both sides of the spectrum, two great young teams, but they were built out completely differently, and both had success without just going and spending like crazy in the free agent market.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say this too, like one of the aspects we're not really considering or thinking about is also how the contracts are breaking out. A lot of these young guys aren't getting paid astronomical numbers right up front.
Yep.
It's backloaded contracts. Like it becomes 20 plus $1 million later in the life of the contract. It's not that way early on. So
Yeah.
it's not really impeding what's happening. And Michael, you hit a point that I think was big where, like Tim, you talk about the Cardinals and not really 100% sure of their pathway, but some of that too is they're not even 100% sure some of the players that are playing in those positions
Yeah.
are going to be those players because they still have a lot of young talent in double A. In triple A, those might be the guys that are deserving of these contracts coming up,
Yep.
not necessarily the guys. And it's hard to think about, but we've been having these conversations. Like, should JJ possibly, like, it wouldn't shock me come around All-Star time, maybe later in the year, that there is an extension, signed in that regards, just because the nature of who he is, if he continues to get on base, because we have seen these guys, miss out. And some of it's been because of, just the state of the team. Some of it's also been because there's been younger players pushing the gap as far as that. Like when you think of like a Tommy Edman, not that he was going to get, this type of contract, but like we're really good at what I would say getting utility players up to the major league level. We have yet to really solidify like this is that guy. But right now, JJ is solidifying himself as the second baseman of the future. And so I could really see them saying, okay, this is our guy at second base. Let's lock him up because of his hit tool. And he's been a plus defender. I think the defensive side has surprised people more than the hitting side from him, especially at second base. So I could see something like that. And then you start to look at like, does Mason Wynn's not going to be one of those that's necessarily going to get what I would say is an early extension. Not that he won't get extended. I think ultimately they work that out.
Yeah.
But I think the guys that you're starting to think about or look at is like the, Rainiel Rodriguez. If he continues to do what he's doing in the minor league system, he might be an early candidate for one of these 6-8 year deals for close to $100 million. Some of those guys are the ones that you're going to start to see push that envelope. And again, not every team reworks that contract out, but a number of these guys that we're talking about, they don't get hit. Like the big portions of these contracts don't kick in until late in their contract years. Some of them are sparsed out all the way across. Because it always amazes me. I don't know if it's actually true or not, but I saw the meme out there that I think Anthony's getting paid to like 2034 and Bobby Bonilla is still getting paid to like 2035. So like, like I mean, money is always kind of just deferred, pushed around. Like, and teams have unique ways of getting out of it. Because think about, like, let's say even Roman Anthony doesn't become exactly what Boston wants him to be. You better believe there's another team that's going to take that contract in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
What it is. Right. Exactly. So, I mean, like, that's why I say, like, these contracts, as much as it is an organization by organization feel, some teams are going to have to be a little bit better at it than others. I think it's going to be a new norm. I think you're going to start to see at least a couple kids from each organization get deals like this. Like, one that strikes me is I wouldn't be surprised probably going into next year if you don't start hearing the name Ethan Holiday getting a deal like this out in Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I feel like before, I want to break down Connor Griffin's contract because it is interesting to put into the conversation. So he got 9 years, 140, but it breaks down differently. He's only making almost $2 million a year for that entire contract per year, just as a standard salary payroll. He got a total of $12 million as a signing bonus.
Yep.
But that $12 million is split throughout the entirety of the contract. So he got $5 million. He got a $5 million check, which is crazy as a 19-year-old.
Oh yeah.
Right up front, a week ago, got a $5 million check. Then he gets $3.5 million per year of 2027, 2028. So that's how the signing bonus gets put out. Then he's going to make that $2 million a year for all 9 of those years. Then he also has a potential to get an extra $10 million from this year to the end of the contract based as an escalator. So that's not guaranteed. He has to, earn those escalatory pieces.
Sure.
But in reality, the guarantee, I think, is
very low risk for the Pirates. I mean, when
it
you
is
look
very
at
low
it.
risk. Now, 2 things come into play. The Pirates had to negotiate well. Connor Griffin and his agent had to decide, they're willing to take that risk on themselves.
Sure.
I'm still like 3 years of control is not a bad thing to see how your player pans out. That is going to make your player a little more expensive, but it does give you a little less risk. And for the Cardinals, for instance, they're not in that window, and the money's not worth it because we need to see if the model works. But that could mean, like Joshua Baez is who gets the contract. Raniel Rodriguez is who gets that type of contract, maybe. The other thing I think of is, like, if you think about Pujols, he got a contract 3 years. He got through 3 years of minimum pay, and then they gave him $100 million 7 years. So they still locked him up technically for 10 years or 11 years for that. And that was a good deal. He got $100 million, which is crazy in 2004 or 2003, whenever that was given. But that's a good deal. To counter your point or maybe your argument a little bit, Brian, if Walker is doing what he's doing, you're going to give a $90 million, $100 million contract to J.J. Weatherholt. What are you going to give to Walker? Because the numbers of what each player is doing is very, very different in monetary value.
Yeah.
So if you're going to give this kid this money, this kid over here, if his season,
Sure.
it's doing what his season proves it. The model that the Cardinals have established says this player, fits the model. That all of a sudden you have a ton of money tied up into those 2 players. Are you going to have enough money to do everything else that you want to do too?
Well, and that's why I said I don't know that it's going to be everybody. And I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know who their agents are.
Yeah.
And that's going to play a big deal. I mean, for Jordan Walker, you might be able to go to him right now and go, hey, we're going to give you the same deal we just gave Connor Griffin.
Yeah.
Which is essentially all you're out for is the $12 million plus the $2 million per year. And then if he chooses to continue to perform it's well worth it. Like
Yeah.
I'm fine paying those escalator costs for something like that. But at the base of it, $2 million a year, like you can walk away from that for nothing. You're not out
Absolutely.
anything in professional sports in that realm. So like, again, a lot of this is ultimately going to fall on some of the, you know, the agents, the players themselves, what they're really being told. Because realistically, for Jordan Walker, the difference is simply this. I mean, Jordan Walker came with a lot of hype and he fell apart in 2 years. I mean, that now he's got this amazing resurgence, and I'm not trying to knock him. I'm here for it. You know, I'm so here for it and glad this is happening. You know, but I don't know that. I mean, there's not a team in the league that's going to go out there and sign him to, you know, a 10+ year deal for $300 million. I mean, I don't know his agent can swing that much in that negotiation. But I mean, I don't think it would harm the Cardinals if you had 4 or 5 players in your organization that are at that 120 to 130. Do I think the Cardinals are going to do this? No.
Yep.
But it's not going to hurt the organization in any way. If you look at, like, think about it like this. If you got 5 players that you guaranteed, I'm just talking guaranteed money, not the life of the contract. You're guaranteeing them, let's just say $25 million for each of those players. Over an 8-year span, you're only talking about a guaranteed amount of money of $250 million in 8 years. Like, that's nothing in Major League Baseball. That's absolutely nothing in that span. So, like, to say that it's going to hamper what they want to do is asinine. I mean, again, I'm not saying they will do this, because they're very much an organization that's going to ride out the arbitration years and everything else until they're forced to make a deal. But I mean, maybe maybe with Heimblum and stuff like that, it'll change a little bit, but it's still the same ownership base. So I don't know that we're ever going to shell out this massive contract. Now, we've seen them be willing to pay that for some elite veterans.
Yeah.
Maybe this is where the shift in the organization starts to come. Instead of paying those high dollars for the elite veterans, let's invest in 3 of our young guys that are at least projecting and we feel really good about.
Yeah.
And then if Walker becomes, let's say Walker does become, the next, almost Albert Pujols. I won't put the pressure on him quite yet.
Yeah.
Then you worry about the $300 million contract at that point.
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, for the record, I'm not an advocate for billionaires saving money. I don't care if they.
No,
Yeah,
no,
right.
I know.
I'm very much on the player side. My skepticism only exists in the fact that in the history of organizations missing a little bit, but I do think there's an interesting trend that's happening with these contracts. Is Major League Baseball is getting younger and younger, like the Players Association in its sense. And I'm curious how that's going to look in like 5 to 7 years, because the veteran, is not lasting as long statistically.
Yeah.
Like Arenado is hitting 34 years old, 35 years old, and is looking very, very overmatched right now.
Yep.
There's a couple outlier pitchers with, Verlander, who's now hurt, Max Scherzer, who's I'm not sure if he's hurt or maybe he got called up finally.
Yeah.
But those guys are very few and far between, whereas, 10 years ago, it was a lot more common. I'm curious with, essentially the young movement is just players aren't able to sustain this type of athletic sport that it is now, because pitching is so intense. Your reaction time has to be good. So playing at 31 makes you, what 40 was, 10 years ago. So I'm curious. I think that has something to do with it. The fact that, like Connor Griffin is 19 years old, and like that is the new, 24 is the new prime instead of 27, 28.
Yeah.
I think that has something to do. Personally, I think that has something to do with it. Now, to the CBA thing, my thought, obviously, there is something that has to do with it. I think the speed and the fact that, like, oh man, these are getting handed out really quickly.
Yeah.
Kind of speaks to that. But I think the only rumor that really exists is the fact that this could benefit orgs to do this now and have the grandfather system apply to these contracts. Any contract that is handed out or given before the new CBA agreement happens gets grandfathered in. It doesn't count towards the new cap that could be applied. That's just a rumor. Obviously, no union on either side is going to confirm or deny that's going to happen. That makes sense to me. And if that really is the case and ownerships know that is the case, all 30 teams should be doing something.
Yep.
Because if the Rays are gonna go into the CBA and continue to stay under this, they are going to hamper themselves without having, players locked up continually with whatever agreements happen.
Yeah.
So I kind of lean that way, but at the same time, I also don't think the lockout is this impending doom that's going to happen. I'm not of the opinion that it's going to get locked out completely. Like we're not. I'm kind of the opinion right now that 162 is still going to exist. That doesn't mean spring training doesn't get locked out and that time period, but maybe that's a little optimistic of me.
Yeah.
But I do think it's kind of hard to deny that these contracts don't have something to do with what's going to potentially happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. There's part of it, sure. It's really hard for me to fathom, though, even like a report like that it can get grandfathered in and not count towards the cap, because then that really gives teams like the Dodgers a big advantage.
Absolutely.
That's going to be horrible for the game of baseball, because then all of a sudden you're saying, well, we don't care about the fact that you've already spent $1 billion. We're going to give you another $500 million to play with to go get players. That's never going to fly. Yeah. So, I mean, will there be some sort of advantage? Sure. I'm not saying teams are going out here and just signing these players out of the goodness of their heart. I think there is obviously an advantage that is being discussed within the realm of the CBA that does impact some of these signings, whether or not, there's a new tax bracket threshold that they're talking about that it won't count towards. I could so see that.
Yeah.
But as far as an overall cap, you would be hard pressed to see that, because that would be a massive competitive advantage for teams that have already got, these massive contracts that count towards their cap. That you couldn't just obliterate and go, well, every team is free to spend another $6 billion if you so choose.
Right. One team we didn't bring up in this whole thing is the Athletics signing all the players that they did.
Yeah.
They extended like 4 or 5 guys.
Yep.
Let me count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They've got 5 extensions going out, and they're trying to work on another one, which I don't know that it's going to happen.
Getting ready for Vegas, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Out of all of them, Nick Kurtz has an advantage, I think, out of all of those contracts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're getting money. I mean, that's going to be the beauty for them in Vegas and it's going to be, again, it's a benefit. I think it's a benefit to the athletics organization to sign these guys because of the monetary value that's going to come back to them when they move, because of the endorsement deals, the advertising revenue that they're going to be able to get. I mean, think about all the new merchandise that has to be sold for a new team. That team's going to make their money back easy if they play it right.
I think out of all the points, I think that's probably the most undervalued part, because that puts, Connor Griffin, the Paul Skeen quote is hilarious in the fact, like he's the face, but he's saying, I'm not going to be
right.
It's funny, but at the same time, Pittsburgh finally has a player that is young and is going to be around for a while, and that's a big deal for an entertainment industry, and from a marketing standpoint. The Boston Red Sox have tons of players. The Athletics have tons of players. Bobby Witt Jr. in Kansas City. He's going to be in Kansas City forever. There's a lot of value, even if they're an average player. As much as I don't think Mason Wynn should be extended, even if he is, he's a defensive wizard that people are going to enjoy watching.
Yep.
And it's not a bad thing, and it's not a lot of money. So I think that's probably the honestly, I think that's a bigger advantage than even the business side of that is,
Yeah.
those players knowing that they're going to stick around for a while. All right. You guys ready to move on?
Let's
Or
do
any other
it.
last thoughts? All right. So next, we're just going to talk about the week, the games that have happened this week, some of the series that happened, break down some moments that we have, that we've seen. Obviously, Jordan Walker's probably going to get talked about a lot. 2 homers, 2 homer takes from 2 homer people. Not the the double entendre of all the homers that's happening. But let's go. One of you guys give me one. What's
Hey,
something that
I'll
stuck out for you this week?
I mean, just this weekend, I'll start here. The number of top teams that got swept. I mean,
Yeah.
we were talking about it a little bit. The Yankees got swept by the Rays. The Brewers, of all teams, get swept by the Nationals. Like, I mean, it's insane. The Cubs staved off getting swept because of their comeback today. So it's like, I mean, like, the Cubs now, obviously they weren't leading the division. I'm not trying to rub salt in the wound. They're off to a little bit of a slower start. So it was good that they won today. But you're seeing some of these like high profile teams, like we were even talking, I think, yeah, the teams that got off to these great starts, all of a sudden it's seeming like they're hitting this wall. And it's really fascinating to me because and it's sports, right? We all love it. It's bandwagon at its best when you see teams like jump out to this amazing, 8-1 record through 9 games. And you're like, this is going to be the year they're going to win 120 games. And then reality hits and baseball comes back and does what baseball does. And it humbles you in the meanest of ways because now your players that started where you couldn't get them out, they can't buy a hit. And so it's just, it's interesting to watch. I think for me, the bigger part of all of that were the ways. Like, and this got under my skin so bad this weekend. And I want to know if you guys saw it. But so after the play, I think it was last night for the Yankees in extra innings where Jazz Chisholm had the chance to field the ground ball, make that play. Did you see the interview afterwards?
I did, man. He's something.
My wife is not even involved in baseball talk like this. And I turned and looked at her, and the facial expression said it all because she looked at me because she heard it, and she goes, how does a guy like that get to millions of dollars in MLB? And I said, I know. He doesn't even understand the rules of the game.
Yeah, it was wild.
And it's just, I can understand like him coming out, making the statement of simply going, this is what I was trying to do. I was trying to get the ball, tag the runner, go to first for a double play. But to just add on to it and go, I don't know if I could have just thrown it to first and then he could throw it back to second and it would have still been a double. I'm like, come on, dude, you've been playing baseball long enough. You know that that's not how a double play works.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact I think that it ended up losing them the game just makes it 10 times worse. But
and
it's
they got
like
swept on top of it.
Right. So it's like for me, that was the first big thing because I'm like, man, I don't even nearly get that much money to talk about baseball, and I know those rules.
Yeah, that was crazy.
My big one, it's not just this week; it's more of a season as a whole right now. But it's really coming to light this week. Is Mason Miller is just absolutely, his statistics are nasty right now.
Mm-hmm.
That dude's got like as many strikeouts as he does balls that he's thrown, which is 19. I think he's at 19 or 20 strikeouts on the season, and he's thrown like 22 balls the entire season. That's just absurd. He's also got 9 of the 10 fastest velocity pitches of the season, which is, obviously we know who Mason Miller is, but like the model that this dude is putting together over the last like year and a half there in San Diego especially has just been ridiculous. And come time for whatever they ended up deciding to do with him, like I know there was talk of him becoming a starter, but like he is the elite of the elite closer, and we don't have very many guys that are like built like this guy right now.
Right.
So it's hard to imagine them trying to mess with that just because of who he is. But it's like, if you could get 6 innings of that guy, that'd be preferred to an inning of this guy every 3 days or something. But the chances of losing out on that or potentially getting him hurt, probably not worth it. But yeah, his statistics right now are just off the charts.
Yeah, he's on a run, like a generational, like one time only type of run going back to last season. I think it's, what is it, like out of 32 plate appearances, he struck out like 30 or something ridiculous. I can't remember, so I don't want to like confirm, but it's wild.
I mean, anytime you got a 23 K per 9, I don't care if you're a reliever or not. Like, that's just ridiculous.
What's 3 times? That's what 27% would be perfect, right?
Yeah.
Perfect K per 9, 27. Yeah, that's freaking close.
Right.
That's a third.
Just making sure I knew 5th grade math there real quick. I'm gonna throw one that is not necessarily like, metrically fun, but I would say the brawl that happened in Anaheim was probably top of the list for me.
I had it on my list.
Everything that went into it, and even involving the Boston and Brewers Milwaukee series right before it, because they have to do with each other, in my opinion, even though those 2 games and those 2 divisions are unrelated completely. But the game that happened in where did they play in Boston? Milwaukee went to Boston, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The last game with Wilson Contreras getting hit like 24 times, I think, by completely, and then is it by Milwaukee?
It's by Milwaukee. Yeah, he's been hit like 60 some odd times in his career.
Yeah. And then the pitcher hitting him 6 by himself individually, and then him saying with the quote at the end of the game, if they do that again, I'm coming after them. And then that same night, with nothing to do with it completely, the Jorge Soler and Ronaldo Lopez brawl that happened I think is just hilarious and entertaining at the same time, because you have a guy that's saying, and I love Wilson Contreras, but you have a guy saying, I'm going to come get you. I am coming after you if you do this.
Yep.
And then you have Jorge Soler literally going after a pitcher and not saying anything.
Yep.
And I think that to set it all up too is just, it's crazy, because I looked this up. Soler's numbers against Ronaldo Lopez are ridiculous.
Yep.
Right.
5 years of play, 26 plate appearances only, 14 hits, a 609 batting average, and 5 home runs with
hit him too.
Yeah.
A 2.0 OPS is like ridiculous. Hits a bomb in the first appearance, second appearance that happens, he throws up and in, and
absolutely.
And the camera angles don't even give it full justice, because a steal happened. And so the camera's looking at the second base steal, and then all of a sudden these 2 guys are just staring at each other, and then Soler just goes out there and starts throwing haymakers, and then Lopez has got the ball in his hand and throwing haymakers back and hit him in the face with the ball. Oh man, it was amazing. What do you guys think of the suspensions that came from it?
I mean, I knew it was coming. I mean, it's just one of those things.
Yep.
I mean, you're going to get 7, obviously, as a starting pitcher, regardless, because they're going to force you to at least miss one start.
Yeah.
That's the goal. And then for Soler, it was 7 because he's the instigator.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing happens if he doesn't go out there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and so, like, at the end of the day, I mean, does it demand to be that much? Probably not. Is that just the reality and the baseline? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be. So, like, I could care less about the suspension. I'm with you. Like, I'm not out here advocating that we need to see a fight every game.
Right.
Although, it might be worth it. I'm just saying viewership might continue to go up, you know.
I mean, 100%. It was entertainment.
Right.
The last fight I remember that intensely was the Jose Ramirez one.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, like, it's exciting. It's fun. Punishment aside, like, I just like the notion, like, and I've said this all along, I love the passion that some players play with. Now, obviously, I don't want it to be reckless passion where, it's just part of baseball. And so you're going to do this, like, on both sides. I understand the Soler and the Lopez completely. A guy hits 2 bombs off of me and that's his career success. you better believe the man's getting some chin music and some inside
Right.
pitches that are coming. I don't care if I throw 83 on a good day or not. That's what he's still, that's still coming inside. And then I don't fault Soler. He's got to defend himself in that case and coming out and saying, hey, now does he have to go out and swing at him? Probably not, but it still makes for good West Coast baseball.
I would say props to the fact that he just did it, and it wasn't like, you know, stupid drama for no reason. He was like, and the funny thing about it is, if you watch the breakdown that John Boy did, it was a confusion between the two. They didn't understand what each other was saying, and the misunderstanding is what made the. And also the fact that it wasn't just like oh man, let's clear the benches, everybody, and they're just gonna stand there.
Yep.
This was actually like, shoot, they're swinging at each other. We got what the heck is happening?
Love it.
Sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good, brother. That's I don't know if you guys saw Kevin Pillar came out and said, he's like, man, these guys shouldn't be suspended. He's like, when two guys got beef, like these brothers, just let them go at it. You know, let it happen out there on the field of battle, and then we just walk away, shake hands, and call it a day.
Right.
And I was like, I love that. Kevin Pillar, of all people, is just like a really funny one too.
He is.
The you know, the way I look at that is you know, it does bring a lot of excitement. Like, I think we were all pretty juiced after it, but it is like also leading up to it, you know, Lopez, he did hit him in the second at bat, drilled him in the hand.
I forgot to mention that. That's an important piece.
Another time, and the piece was funny to me, is like Lopez hits him in the head, and then he was out of there. He was like, "Oh yeah," Solaire's like lost his mind. I don't know if he like saw like something in his eyes, but like Lopez like hightails it out of there, and then you got, you know, the Braves coach like trying to tackle Solaire and stuff.
Yeah, Walt Weiss comes up there behind him. Yeah,
but that was it was incredible. I agree with you. Like, it's kind of annoying whenever you see the guys that like say something to each other and bench is all clear, but nothing actually happens. Like, if you're gonna do it, just do it. Like, you know, like throw down, have you know, whatever, and then just, you know, go your own way. Don't make it more than it has to be. But, you know, like, I'll always remember when Amir Garrett ran at Pittsburgh's entire dugout. Like, that was absolutely incredible. And, you know, it's memorable. Got his point across, and I think we all were better for it. So.
Never get in the way of two Latin brothers needing to figure something out.
Amen.
That is true. But here's the thing too: like, we can't have it every game, every night, or it wouldn't be as fun as it is. So, you know, all the MLB players that are out here listening to us, we know we got them. You know, just make sure you coordinate with one another if you're going to charge them down a little bit.
One every 10 games is good enough.
I think one funny small thing on top of it is, with the way that you can argue the suspensions and everything, you can delay, and then if you lose it, you can decide when you want to start it.
Yeah.
He decided to delay it, and the next day hit a bomb off of Braves again, which is hilarious. He's like, "Oh, he's supposed to be suspended." He's like, "I'm not doing it yet."
That's right.
Watch this.
We're gonna finish this series out, brother.
Yeah, watch this. Looked at Lopez in the dugout as he goes.
Beautiful. Love that.
All right, who's got another one?
Oh, for me, I'm gonna throw out. You know, I'd like seeing a lot of these young guys really take off. I mean, you mentioned Jordan Walker. Obviously, we've
save it a little bit.
We've been all over this, like, as far as this week, text threads, conversations in person. My favorite one was the meme that you sent on X. I'd kiss him on the mouth right now because of how well he's playing. And I'm like 100%. Like, that's just part of it. Like, dude is playing out of his mind. But, like, I want to give props out to, like, Andy Pajes out in L.A. I mean, off to another tremendous start. This one shocks me a little bit, but, like, Brandon Nimmo has found his way in Texas.
Yeah.
Like, the dude is just alive out there. Your boy Ben Rice in New York is really kind of, as funny as it is, I mean, obviously that is Judge's team.
Yeah.
He is quietly becoming the offensive production for that team. And
Aaron
so, right. And then for me, like, you know, I'll keep saying it, my man crush has always been Jordan, and to see him back fully healthy and doing what he's doing,
man.
like, I mean, I don't know if there's anything, you know, my wife might get mad at me for this, anything more sexy than a man who hits a baseball like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully, on your point,
I would
he doesn't
agree
feel
with you,
that
to
way.
be honest with you. It makes you feel things, right?
No, that's yeah. I guess Kevin McGonigal is the other guy I would mention on that. Like,
Yeah.
like the rookie is having a sensational, and he finally got his first home run this weekend. But he's off to
Yeah.
just a sizzling start.
I think it was today, right?
Yeah.
Sunday.
Yep, earlier today, I believe.
Yeah.
That's and to me, it's like the Central, the AL Central is really weird right now. So it's like Cleveland kind of thought they were going to take a step back, playing really well right now. Minnesota, out of nowhere, playing well right now
Hey,
with
it's
absolutely
early, baby.
nobody.
It's early.
And then you got Kansas City and Detroit both, kind of playing okay ball, and then the White
Little
Sox are
poo-poo, yeah.
the basement dwellers as usual. But it cracks me up. You look up there and it's like the Twins. Honestly, I didn't expect them to win much more than 9 games this year. So I'm pretty impressed the fact they've already got 9 under the belt.
Yeah, especially when they had a stretch of games where it's like, wow, this is the worst baseball you've ever seen in your life.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I would add on top of yours, Michael, we've kind of slept on in the conversations completely. Drake Baldwin is going crazy.
Yep.
I'm really mad I didn't draft him in my fantasy team because no one will get rid of him now. And he's just like going nuts, man.
Yeah.
320. He's up in the home run leaders category. Not anymore for other reasons. But the expected WOBA, I don't know if you guys are a WOBA guys, but the leaders in that and the expected WOBA are up there. Top 10 includes Jordan Walker, Francisco Alvarez for the Mets, who started awful and then picked it up like crazy. Ben Rice, Sal Stewart coming out of nowhere. Talk about a young kid. Freddie Freeman, Corbin Carroll, Shohei, Ryan O'Hearn, Dylan Dingler. It's fun to see a bunch of names that aren't normally up there. Sure, there's a few. Shohei Ohtani's up there. That's normal. Jordan Alvarez is normal.
Yeah.
Him being healthy is not normal, but Ben Rice, Sal Stewart, Ryan O'Hearn, Jordan Walker, I think that's really, really cool. It's always cool to see. Yeah, it's always cool to see new players. I was going to throw the Pirates out there as a whole, but they had a dud of a game today, so it kind of makes me question it a little bit. There's some things that like they're playing really well, but today they did not. They just played awful against. I think they played the Cubs, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They started the game great.
Grand slam, everything.
Yeah,
right.
the ball just like going random places on the field. It gave me you guys remember the Angels in the Outfield movie when the ball is just like making everybody trip? That's what it made me think when I was watching. I was like, why is it over there? Why is it over there? What?
I actually caught 15 minutes of Angels in the Outfield yesterday.
That's funny. And then, did you guys see the Jonah Heim game? The massive error game that he had?
No.
So he's playing for Atlanta.
Yeah.
So he's the backup, and I forget who was it. Was it an Angels matchup? I sent it to you guys.
Oh
where he hit him in the nuts after he was thrown down to second. Is that what you're talking about?
No. He didn't block a pitch well, and then it bounced past him. And it ended up tagging to him, and there was a runner. There was 2 outs, a runner at first. The pitch, he didn't block the pitch, so it sailed behind him. So the runner took off to second. And then he couldn't find it, and the umpire kept the ball in play and said live, like, you got to pick it up. And he just like stood there for a second, and so then the runner starts going to third, and he finds it and he throws it to third like super quick. And it just sails into the outfield. It doesn't even go near the third baseman. So the runner goes from first to home in the same play. And it's like, dude, what happened to that guy from 2023?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
That's one of the more random Gold Gloves out there, probably.
Yeah. Talk about a fall off.
Yeah.
Look, even all of those players get. I mean, come on. Ozuna's got a Gold Glove to his name.
That's true.
So let's,
you got a few of them random ones out there. For every Nolan Arenado out there, there's a lot more one-time winners out there.
Absolutely.
Brian, you got another one?
Yeah, I would say just the oddity of baseball, and I'll go back to Houston and the fact that you're looking at the top offense in Major League Baseball, and yet they cannot get out of the cellar in the NL West. And now product is their pitching is decimated. Like the main guys that they are wanting to rely on are not there. And so that offense has to be really, really good to even win some games. It's just sad that you have such a high-powered team and you're still not able to win games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
They're
know how many runs
2-8.
exactly they. Both sides of this spectrum are absurd. 93 runs scored and 101 again.
Right.
That's absurd.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they will score with you. It's going to be a close game, but they're going to find a way to lose it.
Wow.
It's 10-8 right now. 9-7 games is what they're playing.
That's crazy work.
They're 2-8 in the last 10. That's hard to do, man. That's hard to do.
Right.
The Blue Jays are in the same boat, 2-8 in the last 10.
Yeah. I mean, it's fascinating to watch. I mean, because again, you've got Altuve and Jordan up there in offensive statistics. I mean, the team as a whole is leading in WAR offensively and MLB, and they won 20% of the last 10 games that they've played.
Yeah.
Like that's absurd to me. And I think that's why I love baseball, because you could be doing everything right on one side of the game and still completely fall apart on the other. That's why it's such a team-oriented game, because you've got to have those pieces. You cannot neglect the pitching staff to get better offensively and expect to win. Like in the NFL, offense can win you games. But the old adage, it'll always be defense wins championships. Yep. And pitching is that defensive thing that you have to have in baseball.
Yeah, run prevention.
Brian, if it makes you feel better, the Cubs are kind of the opposite side of the spectrum. They're scoring runs and not giving up runs, but still figuring out ways to lose games. So it's pretty impressive.
It does
Standard
help.
Chicago
It does
Cubs
help.
behavior.
It's unbelievable, to be honest with you.
Mikey, you got another one?
Yeah, I was going to point out, we kind of talked a little bit on it last week, but it's the Giants. I am just floored with how bad they are right now, and that's even with them picking up 3 wins last week. I just, they have a rookie manager, so maybe at some point you see them start to take a turn. But the thing is, what we're seeing from the Dodgers right now, and Arizona, San Diego both, picked it up a little bit last week. San Francisco may be out of this division before they even have a chance, because it's like obviously the Dodgers, we're not going to see them fall off. Like, just in general, that team's just got too much talent in pitching and offense both. The San Diego Padres, obviously, they're probably going to have some ups and downs, but if the talent's playing like it can, the talent's there for sure. In Arizona, I think we were all pretty high on before the season started too, but I think we all kind of thought San Francisco would have some say in that division, at least within the wild card picture. And I mean, they're just bad. Like, I don't know how else to frame it. They're bad.
They're playing worse than the Rockies.
Right.
I mean, that's hard to say.
It hurts to say.
At least you're not a Giants fan.
Yeah. we all kind of pegged the Padres to take a big step back.
I did, and they're proving. A lot of teams are proving me wrong at the moment.
It helps if you can keep yourself in the game and you roll Mason Miller out of the bullpen.
Right.
There's nothing happening on that man.
So I'm going to throw out there, the last thing I'm going to throw out there is the Tatis second base game.
Yeah.
Was a really, really interesting,
so
first
random.
Of all, the Padres are just weird in general. So many things don't make sense. You take a 2-time platinum glove right fielder and put him in second base when you have other infielders on your team. The only reason they did it is so what's his name could take a day off. I'm blanking on a name right now. Bogarts. Yeah. So Xander Bogarts could have one day off, and I'm like, wait a second, you're gonna take a platinum glove outfielder. That doesn't make any sense.
Well,
but but he has the game of his life.
Right. And to their credit, it's like, and because you're not even slotting him into shortstop, which is his natural position.
Right.
So
I was gonna say that's where he started.
The whole big thing.
Right.
It's just the reverse Mookie Betts, baby.
He said, I saw Mookie do it, I'm going to do it too.
That's right. I'm just doing it at second, not short.
Right?
Yeah, that was an absurd read even just coming in, but like you said, then he turns around and just has like this stellar game too. It's like, all right, well,
Yeah, I think he went 3 for 4. I think he played today too at second base.
I love it because it just screams what you're seeing baseball go back to, the athletic players becoming the dominant players.
yep.
Yeah, very
And
much so.
that is so good for the game of baseball.
Yep.
I think, there is a place for those guys. Like, I don't want to knock like the Mark McGuires of the world, the Barry Bonds, where you need those guys too that are just locked in. But the fun of the game is watching athletic guys do their thing, not only at the plate, but also in the field. I mean, because the dude can be as great as he is in right field. And I think the big miss of all of it is the arm that is at second base right there.
100%.
Yeah.
I would be fearful as the first baseman that he forgets he's at second base one time and goes into like a crow hop to throw it from second base to first base.
He's got a 96 percentile arm value.
Right.
It's like
Playing
second
second
base.
base. Right.
Probably the shortest throw in the field. Let's put him behind catcher too. Why not?
Yeah, give it a shot. See if he can call a game.
I feel like I made the mistake. I drafted him in my fantasy team and I traded him away because of his awful start. And I feel like I made a big mistake because I think metrically he's getting really unlucky.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the quote in his interview? He's like, I think the baseball gods are mad at me because I'm hitting the ball really hard right now and nothing is working.
That's yeah. The only other thing
It's
I was
fun.
gonna call out was the pitching winners right now. The guys leading at the top are just absolutely hysterical. You got Jose Soriano's got 4 starts, 4 wins, with a .33 ERA. Then you've got your boy Steven Matz, Michael Soroka, and Aaron Ashby. Round out the top, and it's just like this is an absurd list. Obviously, it's early in the season, but Michael Soroka, 5 years ago was absolutely incredible. Then he goes through, a couple arm injuries and stuff, and like even the Cubs picked him up late last year, and he throws like an inning and gets hurt, and it's like this guy's just dealing out there in Arizona. But to see Steven Matz up there, the Aaron Ashbys of the world, it's like these are not the dudes you expected to see at the top of this list. That's for sure.
And I can promise you won't see them by All-Star break. But hey, let them have their glory right now.
Let him cook. Let him cook. Cam Schlittler and Sandy Alcantara are just tearing apart hitters right now too.
Yes, they
Sandy
are.
Alcantara
today though.
Who?
Sandy. Real rough start in Detroit.
Yeah,
now, the ironic thing
did.
is it took his ERA up to like a 2.3 or something stupid, but
That's
because he was ridiculous before that.
He got pulled from. It wasn't a no-no, but he got pulled 1 and out from a complete game. That made him mad and made this start really bad.
Yeah.
He's like, trade me.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I'm done. All right, guys. You want to round it up with our hometown breakdowns?
Let's do it.
So I think it's worth mentioning. Should we just start off with Jordan Walker?
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we just go there?
He's earned it. He has earned it.
So I had to redo some numbers today. So I don't know if anybody's watching and listening and has not seen what Jordan Walker is doing, but it's pretty ridiculous. He's up there with Jordan right now with, in offensive categories. But I did a 162 game sample size of his numbers from today. Take a guess how many home runs he would hit.
He's got to be in the 60, close to 70 mark.
Yeah, maybe.
Let's go 81. Split it down the middle.
That would be amazing.
Not quite, but it's pretty darn close. He would at the pace that he's at, 162 game sample size puts him at 75.5 home runs, which would obviously break the record, which would be pretty hilarious and not possible. But
right.
I will say that would be absolutely hysterical. It's like you have all these all-time greats, and obviously, hopefully, Jordan Walker does well. But like to see his name at the top of that list, and then the guys below that just be like, "Excuse me."
And to put it in perspective too, to do that, say it happens, which nobody's saying it's going to,
right?
But say it happens, to go from the season that he had last year, where he has negative 1.2 WAR, 6 home runs in an entire 100 and something games, to then breaking the home
111
run
games,
record.
right.
Talk about historical, unprecedented.
Comeback player of the year right there.
Oh,
of
geez.
the century.
No joke.
The decade, right?
Right, yeah. The one thing I'll throw out there, Brian, you can talk about it a little bit more. I thought it was interesting today. Shout out Sarah Lang for this one, but she found most home runs in a team's first 15 games of the season in the Cardinals' history. There's only 4 players. Walker is now on that list, but the other 3 are 2006 Albert Pujols had 10 home runs in 15 games, which talk
Right.
about that for a second.
Just-
10 home
right.
runs in 15. It's absurd. 5
Right.
games without a home run. That's
crazy.
absurd. 2004 Scott Rowland, which was part of that whole MV3.
Yeah.
And then Jordan Walker and Mark McGwire in 1998 are tied at 7, which
Look at those names.
we all know what happened in 1998.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well,
That's
I was
right.
gonna say, if it wasn't for a little something that happened during that time frame, those would be 3 Hall of Famers and Jordan Walker. So.
Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely.
true.
There's no doubt about that at all. Yeah, I mean, again, yeah, I think if you're from St. Louis and you're paying attention to baseball as a whole, I think you had an expectation that he was going to be a little bit better.
Yeah.
Now, spring training did not give anybody that hope because coming out of spring training, it was like, I don't know what you can do to get this guy better. But whatever happened between the bus ride from around Jupiter back up to St. Louis or the flight, whatever one he chose to take, I don't know.
Yeah.
Brother, keep that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that is just where it's at. I mean, because again, it's not, I think what's impressive to me is it's not just one pitch anymore. Like before, it was one pitch. You knew he could hit one pitch. Now it doesn't matter if it's a fastball in, it doesn't matter if it's spin out and away. The balance that he has found from going to drive line and whatever he fixed in his mechanical setup and swing has enabled him to stay on the ball. I think the big component, and Tim, you and I have talked about this a lot, is he's not biting on that slider low and away nearly as much. He's a lot more choosy on that.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
his-
he almost hit a home run on one today.
Right. And so, like, I think to me, the biggest thing that he's said in all his interviews, and a lot of credit to Gould in his report when he talked about it, is the work that Jordan put in finding the balance. Like, he felt like last year, every time he hit the ball, he was off balance, which was zapping his power. We've always known the kid has got enormous power. It's just we're getting to see it now on display. And it is reminiscent. I'm not going to put him in this category, but it is reminiscent of what Albert did back in those early 2000s, mid 2000s, because it was like, it didn't matter where you threw the ball. He had enough power to hit it out of the ballpark regardless. And I think that's been the beauty for me, is he's pulling the ball. He's going dead center. He's gone to right field. He's got home runs in almost every aspect of the ballpark. And even when he's not hitting home runs, like today's game, what was impressive is he hit the home run. I believe it was in the second inning or his second at bat. And then a couple at bats later, he rifled a base hit up the middle. And that was probably, I think, hit harder, just on a lower trajectory than the home run was. And just the hard hit rate to me has been so impressive. He's carried that with him, but the balance is allowing him to get just underneath the baseball more often. And I think it's a byproduct. That's why he's leading the majors with 7 home runs.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you guys a text real quick. You can pull up, but the his Savant page updated right now is mostly hundreds.
Gosh.
Which tells me, like the sustainability of it. Obviously, he's not going to hit, 75 home runs.
Yeah.
No.
But the sustainability of it is there. He's low in the K percentage and whiff, and that's part of the game that he's had. Maybe contact can go up a little bit, but you doesn't really matter. You take the rest of that and you just go, you run with it. I would say it's impressive, and I would say also, like, say this season becomes a success for him and this sustains, again, not 75 home runs, but you get 40 out of him even. Is crazy to think about when he had 6
right.
last year. say you get that out of him. I would say the unprecedented turnaround of an organization to help a player through that, but also credit to him for, like you said, doing those things and then sticking with it. And then kind of to Xavier, is his name Xavier Scruggs?
Scruggs.
Scruggs, not Scrubs.
Yeah.
But the point that he made on MLB Network I thought was really good. This is a great case study for the technology changes in the game and what it can do, and how to take this player who the last 2 years has the absolute worst player in baseball to all of a sudden one of the best players in baseball. Now, those pieces of talent were already there. He swung the bat like crazy, and if he ever made contact with a barrel, it was one of the hardest hit balls. It's an O'Neal Cruz type of hit.
Right.
So those, they didn't just create that out of thin air. So they took that talent, but if it becomes a success, the tech advancement from what Driveline was able to help him with changing his stance.
Driveline's value is going up.
It'll be interesting to see how that affects more players. You know what I mean? Like what players, Christian Campbell. Does Roman Anthony need an adjustment like that only stuff like that can do? So that will be an interesting, I think the next 2 to 5 years to see how that happens and how the game changes because of that. And how pitching changes from it too.
I was gonna say, if I was the Redbirds, I'd be sending Nolan Gorman over there too.
You're not kidding. Like at this point, I'm contacting Driveline to figure out what I got to do to put a system in my clubhouse.
100%.
Like, what can we do? Like, let's get everybody.
The power there in the world.
Yeah,
right.
Then you become the Dodgers. Most of the Dodgers have hired like 3 or 4 Driveline employees and directors in the organization. Yep,
do what you got to do.
Absolutely, working for them.
I mean, continuing on the Cardinals talk, like some of the big things for me over at least the last week is I'm excited to see kind of the stability with the exception of a couple players out of the bullpen. We knew what this team was going to be. Like the record where it sits, I think obviously them still being in the mix is still, it's positive. It's all positive. But I knew they were going to have ebbs and flows. Like we watched Boston come into town this weekend for a 3-game set. Doesn't surprise me, even though Boston was struggling, they took 2 out of the 3. Yeah. Because we still got some glaring holes. I think starting pitching is going to have to be addressed sooner rather than later. Do I think anything's going to change right away? No, I think they're still going to get till the end of April before we really see any significant adjustments in that regard. More pressing to me, and Tim, you and I have talked about this, and we can hit this fast and move to the Cubs, is like the emergence of some of the young guys at AAA. Especially the name like Jimmy Crooks, when you're watching what Pedro Pages is doing, like when does that experiment, not because I think Pedro's a bad dude, but when does that fade? And Jimmy Crooks, who's hitting close to 500, and defensively, he's being a terror defensively down at the AAA level, which is the one big thing you're lacking here. Yeah. And so it's like, when does, and again, no disrespect to Ivan. He does his thing, but, he's not a defensive catcher. Yep. At least not to this point in his career. Could it change? Sure. But if you're going to be doing like this Pages thing behind the plate for, 3 games and then Herrera gets 2 games, it's going to get really, really old quick from the Pages perspective because there's nothing happening. The defensive marker that he was, the game caller that he's supposed to be, doesn't impact any part of this rebuild, this retool. Yep. Because the reality is, if you want to argue with me, well, he's really good for the pitchers you have, it doesn't matter. He's not going to be the one that is going to be the mainstay behind the plate for the future pitchers. Yep. So why is he still catching right now? Like it's one of those things, and it's not a disrespect to him. I think he's a great guy. I think he's worked hard to get where he's at. But, 2 names, and then I'll let you talk to him. The 2 names are Crooks, and then you've mentioned this guy multiple times. He's really high for you, is Blaze Jordan. And it's like, I know you want that young man to continue to get at bats, but what does he have to do to prove that he can come up and be DH and a backup first baseman, maybe even remove Pozo from the roster to be in that spot? Because the dude is just mashing the ball at AAA as well. Now, he's not going to be a viable defensive replacement anywhere on the field. But I mean, right now you need hitters.
Yep.
And so those are just like some interesting highlights from this week. Again, it's early, even in AAA. Will those numbers kind of balance themselves out? Maybe. But if I'm in the Cardinals organization, I don't know how much longer I can hold off on at least having the conversation of those two guys being up.
Yeah, for me it's the pitching. The rotation in and of itself is the pretty weak link for everybody. I think there's a lot of gambling that we've put on it, and even I said, this rotation potentially is one of the top tens for me, and obviously that has been removed far, far, far away. But I think the thing we've got to the thing that fans have to go into it is just remember, like, this is a rebuild and they're over.
Right.
The expectation has been surpassed, and that's really, really fun. Like, I see some fans on Twitter like, we need to make these moves now so we can win. I was like, guys, we're not supposed to be winning. Just remember.
Right.
Yep.
And you want to develop winning players. Like, we talk about, you and I had this conversation, Brian, about, or no, I actually had this conversation with another guy that I had just met yesterday about, like, the ability to develop winning players culturally. Like, the standings and the numbers might not say they're winning, but individually they are developing winning habits.
Yeah.
That implies the pitching too. Like, none of our pitchers are, I can't say none of them, but you want the pitching to match the ability of the hitters to develop winning habits too.
Yeah.
And some of them are just, showing that, they don't have it. You've got so much depth this year, so I'm curious to see the timeline of which they're going to bring that and start to use that depth, because we haven't had depth like this in quite a few years. But I would say the bullpen is a less worry for me, simply because I think the rotation is that bad that the bullpen has been that exposed this quickly. Like, starters going 4 innings, 5 innings, 2 weeks in still is not good for the makeup of a bullpen. And, you can't do that for 162. Your arms are ruined and dead if you do that. So the rotation, or the bullpen and its blowups, are a byproduct of the fact that the rotation is not doing what it's supposed to be doing yet.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what they're going to do, because they have so much pitching depth that on paper is just better talent in general, but there's a lot of moves and questions to be made of whether, the right timing of this. But I also think it proves the point that the rebuild and the timing of it, it's like, oh yeah, the hitting has outpaced and outperformed, especially if Jordan Walker does what he does. Like, it's like, oh, we could contend next year, but guys, this pitching is so far away from being that ready. So it's like,
there's no number one. I mean, we got a bunch of 3 through 5s right now, and nobody's taking the 1-2, and we need that. We're going to need somebody to step up. You're right.
All of our elite pitching is in AA, which means it's 2 or 3 years before cups of coffee, essentially. So I'm curious to see how that all is going to work. I mean, obviously we have one season, and we have 2 weeks of games to go off of from that. But how, if Jordan Walker has a full year and breaks out like that, that does kind of, I feel like, put pressure, because the fan base is going to see, hey guys, you see how real this is right now? Like, we could do this.
Yep.
Could change things.
What would that do to the pitching plan that they have, and the monetary plan that they have for it?
Yeah.
So I'm paying attention a lot to AAA, because aside from Jordan Walker and some of the players, I'm just seeing what all of our pitching is doing in AAA, because that's going to tell us when we're ready, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's good. Good.
Michael, walk us through your Cubbies from the last week. They're still losing. Or they still have a losing record.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Cubs, just to start off, were dealt brutal news at the beginning of the week. Cade Horton is done for the year.
Sucks.
With a UCL injury. So that really put a damper on the week for the Cubs. So that was a tough blow. one good thing was they got Suzuki back this week, so they did bring some nice power back to the lineup. And found out randomly, apparently Michael Conforto must be listening to our podcast because I did nothing but crap on the guy last week about how he's getting DFA'd when Suzuki got back, and all of a sudden I look up and the guy's batting 300.
That's right.
So,
He heard you.
He evidently heard me. Meant that was the demise of Cardinal great Dylan Carlson in a Cubs uniform.
Cardinal great.
So the
I like what you did there.
yeah, I knew you'd love that. But yeah, it's the Cubs are really weird right now. Some of their best hitters are not maybe best hitter. Well, yeah, one of their best hitters, Michael Busch, has been absolutely atrocious. And Craig, so much so Craig Counsell gave him a day off today to just get his mind right. Ironically, as much as I don't give Craig Counsell much credit on most things, he brings Busch in for a pinch hit, gets a pinch hit today that ends up, pushing the Cubs into getting a victory over the Pirates. So, that piece is it's tough to see because we're looking at Ian Happ right now is batting under 200. Michael Busch is batting under 200, significantly below 200. You have Dansby Swanson's batting like 160. It's like the Cubs are about 500. So the fact that they're about 500 with three of their bigger names at least. Dansby's not necessarily known for being an elite hitter, but three of their bigger names are not hitting right now, and they're still winning games is kind of impressive because you also have several other guys that are slightly above 200. The other thing I'll lean into is Nico Horner is elite. Get my man in the All-Star game this year. It's
I did predict.
He's batting well over 300. He's got 10 ribbies already on the season. The real bright spot on the offense right now. But overall it's been a really weird week. The Cubs held off on Javier Assad has been up and down the last few years for the Cubs, and they sent him down to AAA to start the year, which was a little surprising, to be honest with you. I thought he'd be coming out of the pen. So the day that they got the news on Horton and Boyd, they then brought in Assad to throw, and he just throws an absolute gem. And so it's like, go figure. We put a lot of runs up down in Tampa Bay, which I think kind of helped him out a little bit, helped a couple guys, especially Conforto, like I said, finally started seeing some balls landing and stuff. But the pitching staff as a whole is actually not doing bad. Just about taping it all back together and, holding out until Justin Steele is able to come in and, kind of find his footing. We also got an answer to I thought was one of the better Cubs under the radar pickups this year, which was Cardinals Phil Maton. I was actually really excited about that pickup. He had started the season off very poorly. Turns out he's been dealing with an injury he was trying to pitch through. So that kind of explains why he's been pitching badly. Pitchers more than really any other position, when they've got something minor going on, it can really throw a lot off. And even you see guys like miss starts because of a blister on their finger, things like that. It's amazing what can throw those guys off. And I want to say his was something to do with his knee, so I'm sure that was really causing a lot of discomfort. So it's like more of weathering the storm right now than anything. But like I said, we're looking up. We're sitting at 500 basically. It is amazing the fact that we are scoring runs. We're really not giving up a lot of runs, but we are figuring out how to lose games. It is mightily impressive. But I'm hoping today, we kind of build off of what Busch saw today. He finally saw a ball find some grass rather than just a whole lot of leather all year long. I could say the one, we saw it, but it's a little concerning. Is PCA? His swing rate is absurd right now, which is a little concerning. But once again, that's where we're going back to what we saw that midpoint, halfway point last year of PCA when Tucker got hurt, is that guy started putting a lot on himself, and he started trying to do a lot more than he needed to. It's like where he's at his best is when he's playing some small ball, when he's taking and just taking that single or double rather than trying to hit a home run every single time he's up there. But part of that is when the other guys aren't hitting, he knows we got to score some runs. So, I get it. But if I'm, Craig Counsell or the Cubs hitting coach, I'd be sitting there talking to him like, look, I see it. I understand where you're coming from, but like, lay that button down third base line. Like, get yourself on base. You're a lot more dangerous for us on the bags than sitting in the dugout because you struck out at a pitch that's 3 feet off the plate or something. So, it's one of those that I'd say he's probably going to be always kind of that guy, that's going to chase a little bit. But if you can get that down some, look what happened, with Walker. You get that chase down, even 10%, and all of a sudden this guy is one of the best players in the league. I'm not saying PCA is going to have that type of power profile that Walker has, but like if you can get that chase rate down 10 or 15% from where he's at right now, which is in the high 40s, all of a sudden he's probably his on base percentage is quite high, stealing 40, 50 bags in a season. But we're just not necessarily seeing that right now because he's batting 200 and swinging at every single ball that's thrown his direction. So, yeah, like I said, the pitching, it's really not been bad outside of Tyone's kind of concerning, especially with Boyd and Horton both being out. You really need a guy like him to step up, and in his couple starts, he's been pretty shaky. But it's kind of what he does. I also have to remind myself, like, this is what Tyone does. He starts the year badly almost every year, and then kind of all of a sudden just finds his groove. You look up, and this guy is thrown like 5 or 6 straight starts where he's gone a quality start, only giving up 1 or 2 runs, and then you're like, oh, okay. But right now with these other two, the big dogs on that pitching staff not being there now, we really need him to step up, because it's like Shota, he had actually a really nice start the other day, but
I was gonna say,
like you can't just put too much on him, and Steele's not here yet, so to ask a guy, like I said, Assad's been back and forth. He's been a starter, he's been a reliever, like to ask that guy to put together, 10 starts or something at an elite level is just way too much to ask for that guy. But if you can get him, every 5th or 6th day where he's throwing a decent start, and then have one bad one every once in a while, you can get away with that if you get a guy like Tyone to actually step up and pitch well. So, the Cubs, they are at a weird spot because they're looking up at everybody. But the good news that happened for them this week is Milwaukee cooled off a lot. So
yes, they did.
They did.
So that helped a lot.
Good news for everybody.
Pretty much.
That's
pretty
right,
much.
right.
But the bad news is the Pirates might be a juggernaut. So we kind of
the
called it
Central's
before.
Close, though.
We called it. But yeah, and then Milwaukee was dealt bad news today with Yelich. I was telling you guys he's evidently got a hamstring injury, which a guy his age is even more concerning with a long injury history that he's had. But
he's only got a couple of years left on that contract. He's almost done, which will be interesting to see when that contract's over.
Yep.
What he does.
You're agreed.
He's done.
Yeah.
Right. Very injury prone for sure.
You're right. Right.
I
don't say that to be me.
The other piece I was going to talk on was, like, I 100% agree with you for Paez. I just don't understand what the Cardinals are doing because of the moves that they've made elsewhere.
I feel like I heard that phrase so much in my life.
I watched Wilson Contreras steal a bag on him last night. Like, Wilson's not been known for taking bags at any point in his career, and I watched him steal a base on him last night. So it's like,
we're gonna have a veteran behind the plate. I would rather have Wilson Contreras still in a Cardinals uniform catching versus playing first base.
It's just hard to see what he's bringing to the team at this point, because, like I said, defensively he's been very average at best. Hitting, he's been very bad. It's still bad that last night they pinch hit Nathan Church for him, and Nathan Church has not been good. So it's like, that points to me that you probably just need to go ahead and make that decision. Like I said, I understand with maybe the Blaze Jordan piece finding the fit, but the Crooks piece, it's there. The fit is there.
Right.
Like, just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. If Pius goes down to AAA and starts raking, great. Maybe you can get somebody else to bite and take a veteran catcher or something, on a small trade. But with the smart moves that you have seen Bloom make this offseason, that's one I'm a little perplexed by.
I've always wondered if that's one of those decisions where it's like, all right, Ollie, I'll give you one player. Who do you want? And he's like, Pajes.
Please don't tell me that is it.
He's got a great personality. I like him in the meetings. I'm kind of being facetious, but at the same time, it's an interesting question.
That's hilarious.
You'd be surprised. I'm sure they've given him more.
Yeah.
Right. Before we wrap up, I asked you guys: is there a series out of the next 2 series for our teams that you guys were looking at that you're interested in the most? The Cardinals play the Guardians, and then we break before our next podcast. We break and we go to Houston, play the Astros. I'm very interested in the Astros because historically, the last few seasons when these two teams play each other, they are just absurd amounts of runs on the board for both teams. And with both of our teams pitching just being atrocious, I'm really curious. We have 2 of the best hitters facing off against each other, and then 2 of the worst pitching staffs facing off against each other. It's like, okay, who's going to win the home run derby every night?
Especially in Dyken Park. I mean, that's going to be a fun one to watch. That was the one on my list. I mean, I like the Cleveland game or series that's coming up. I just think, depending on obviously Cleveland, Atlanta's playing tonight on the Sunday night baseball game on NBC. But Cleveland's been playing really good. Yeah. But that's going to be an interesting series just from the small ball perspective. I don't think you'll see a whole lot big swings. I mean, Jordan may continue his thing.
Yeah.
But
chase the water.
Yeah. True. But it's like their premise is both of these teams kind of match each other in style.
Yeah.
And
very much
play.
so.
And so that'll be interesting to see which one kind of wins out. But again, I think their pitching to this point in the season's been much better than ours. And so,
undeniable.
Right. So if I had to pick a series, Houston's going to be the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Cubs actually have a really tough stretch, to be honest with you. I'm a little concerned because they've got Philly, Mets, Philly, Dodgers, San Diego, Arizona. Just like,
ooh,
which, if I remember last year, they had something kind of similar, where they just had like a really absurd April that they had to play out. But I'm obviously watching the Philly series because I love Schwarber, Harper, from that standpoint. But they're also another team that's kind of in the same boat as the Cubs. Like, why aren't we winning more games right now?
Right.
I know you're sitting there with the Phillies, so I'm watching that one. Obviously, the Mets, honestly the same boat, but I'm more interested to see how this Philly one plays out because they've got Luzardo, Nola, and Sanchez going in this, and we could get swept in this series for sure because of that if our hitting doesn't show up. So, like I said, I'm not excited about this stretch because, I mean, I could see us losing every one of those series and a couple of those being sweeps if we don't improve a little bit right now. Which, in that case, like I said, that's where it would get concerning about the division, especially if Pittsburgh keeps playing well. Because, like, Cincinnati, I think, will cool at some point, but Pittsburgh's the one that I'm afraid they've got the talent there that they could extend that lead, especially if the Cubs end up, winning 4 out of the next 15 games or something ridiculous,
That would be tough, man. That would be tough.
I'm just looking at real quick. The Atlanta Braves are baseball's
they're doing their thing. They're doing their thing, man.
Weird sport, man.
They hardly have any pitching. Right.
Yeah.
And yet they're still doing it.
Yeah.
Chris Sale's just pitching every day, apparently.
Yeah.
The Braves have the
Angels.
second. Right. Braves have the second best run differential in baseball behind the Dodgers. 35 for the Dodgers, 34 for the Braves.
Did not see that coming.
And the Phillies are in third place with a negative 16 run differential. Baseball's weird. Beautiful,
it is, but that's why we love
weird.
it.
That's
Gotta
why
love
we love it.
Man. Gotta love
Well,
it.
thanks guys so much for listening to this episode. We really, really appreciate it. Give us a like, follow, subscribe, comment. Let us know your thoughts, the discussions from tonight. Put them in there, and we will see you guys in the next episode.